Hey guys, Big Films 39 here with my 5th ever Blu-ray update. The last time I did one of these videos was a year ago. It was actually this week last year, so really excited to do this. I've been putting it off for way too long, and as a result of that, I have over 50 titles here that I've watched since my last update. So it's going to be a really long video. I want to talk a little bit about each of the movies. These are not all of the movies that I bought in the past year, and some of these I even had in my collection from before my last update, but just didn't get around to watching until recently or in the past year. But I hope you guys can enjoy this video, and let's get right to it. So I have The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. This was a Black Friday pickup for me. I got it at Target for about, I think it was $7 or $8. But I had seen this movie once before for the first time about 2 years ago. And the first time I watched it, I absolutely loved it. Just a great dark murder mystery movie. Really suspenseful. And David Fincher, this is my favorite movie of his, and you know, if you've seen Gone Girl, which just came out last year, I think this is a way better movie, but has that same signature style of his, that really dark, edgy, kind of suspenseful feel. But the second watch for me, because it was a mystery movie and I knew how everything played out, I just didn't enjoy it as much. Still a really good movie. Obviously, I like the performances by Daniel Craig and Rooney Mara, but the second watch just didn't do as much for me as the first watch, and that's obviously a common thing. There's nothing, it's a hard thing to avoid with movies, especially mystery movies, but still a really good movie, and one I definitely need to have in my collection. So The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, a really good movie. Awakenings with Robin Williams and Robert De Niro. This is one I've had for a few years but never got around to watching. And I didn't think I was going to like it because I'm not really a fan of drama movies. But this was a nice movie. It's not one I could revisit too often, but I think I watched this a few months before Robin Williams' death. Maybe afterwards. I can't remember, but he kind of plays a similar character to his character in the movie Patch Adams. Because he is a caregiver. He's a doctor in here, and he takes care of people. I saw a lot of similarities between the two movies, but Awakenings, if you haven't seen this, Robin Williams, he plays a doctor in a medical facility, and there are these catatonic patients, which means they're basically in a sleep state. They just kind of have their eyes open, but they don't talk or really function much. And Robin Williams, he wants to help these people, so he starts to work on a drug, and he gets it approved to start testing on these patients. And Robert De Niro's character, who fell into a coma when he was really young, like 6 years old, or I think it was, and he gets this drug and just wakes up when he's, I guess, in his 30s, I think. But an adult, he wakes up and he doesn't remember ever being asleep, and he's completely normal. This is based on a true story, by the way, which is really kind of incredible, but Robert De Niro's character wakes up, and it's really beautiful because he's able to enjoy and appreciate life more than everyone there, all of the doctors and everything. He's able to be happy and enjoy life, and he kind of teaches them that they should just appreciate being alive. And it's kind of sad because he begins to slip back into his catatonic state. And the doctors can't really do anything for him. They don't know why it's going on, but it's a really nice movie. Another really nice performance by Robin Williams. I don't mean to say this, disrespectfully, but a lot of Robin Williams' comedies I just don't like. Even his really popular movies like what was it, Mrs. Doubtfire. I just don't find those movies that funny. But in these drama movies and Good Will Hunting, which is also in this update, and this movie, and then I also got to see Patch Adams after he died. He's really good in these roles, and it's just kind of a feel-good movie, a really beautiful movie. To see a doctor really care about his patients like this and want to help them, and then the guy in Robert De Niro who, has just been in a coma his whole life, but is able to really enjoy life. It's a pretty nice movie, so I recommend watching it at least once, but not something I could watch too often. All right, moving on. We have an animated movie, 9, produced by Tim Burton. I don't believe he directed it, but this is another movie I had in my collection for a couple years. Never got around to watching it. I watched it I think back in October, but I was actually really surprised and impressed by this movie. I really liked it. It has that post-apocalyptic setting that movies like WALL-E have. It's a little generic, but it didn't feel like that. I actually really liked the world and the setting. I thought the way they presented it was unique and different. But there are these I don't know what you want to call them, these kind of sack people, and they're in this wasteland, and they're just trying to figure out what's going on, and they have numbers on them. So 9, that's the main character. He discovers other people like this, and they're just trying to kind of get through this post-apocalypse, and there's the story goes on from there. There's some bad guys they have to fight, but it was a really nice movie. I enjoyed it. There's some really good action in it as well. For an animated movie, I really like that. It's not stop motion, but it's that computer generated CGI images, but it doesn't look like your typical animated movie. But I really enjoyed it. This is I think one of the better animated movies, better than a lot of Disney movies. So I could definitely rewatch this, and I really enjoyed it. Some Studio Ghibli titles: The Secret World of Arrietty. This is my favorite Studio Ghibli movie that I've seen, and I've only seen a couple. I've only seen Ponyo, My Neighbor Totoro, Whisper of the Heart, and Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, and I have a couple more coming up here, but this is by far my favorite. The reason that I think this is the best Studio Ghibli movie of the ones I've seen, it just has a really simple plot that you can really engage. There's a central thing going on. Will, I think, was this kid's name, or maybe that's just the name of the voice actor, but the boy in this movie, he's sick and he has to go live with his aunt in her house, and he discovers these little people that are living in the house, and that's Arrietty, this little girl here, and they've been living in this house their entire lives, and I really like that kind of magical element to this movie. And they feel threatened by these people that have moved into the house, so they try to leave. But a really cute story. There's some emotional moments in it. I really enjoyed it. I love the animation. There's some really great music to this as well. But my favorite Studio Ghibli movie, The Secret World of Arrietty. And another Studio Ghibli film, Whisper of the Heart. I really like the setting in this movie. The setting, the Japanese culture is always really fun to see that if you're not familiar with it. And I kind of felt the same way about Ponyo and My Neighbor Totoro. And the movie starts off with this girl. She checks out all these library books, these kind of fantasy stories, and she notices on the card in the book that there's this boy that's been checking out all these books and reading them before her, so she kind of gets obsessed with him. And the movie goes a lot of different places from there. And I just felt it was kind of too messy. There wasn't a central plot like there was in Arrietty, but there are some emotional moments in here, some kind of that magical feel that's kind of in all of these Studio Ghibli movies. But it was just kind of all over the place, didn't have that direct main conflict that was trying to be resolved, and for that reason I can't really give this movie too much praise, but it is worth checking out. It's kind of a feel-good story, but definitely not on the level of The Secret World of Arrietty for me. And Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. This movie I didn't really enjoy. This one feels really dated. It is, I believe it's from the 80s. The story I couldn't really make sense of. There's this world that really isn't explained. It's just kind of this this fantasy setting. Kind of there are these. I think there's this village of people, and they're these like slugs that roam about, and they need them to harvest energy, but I think they view them as enemies. And there's this other group of people that come and raid their village. I saw this back in July, so I can't remember it too well, but it was just kind of hard to make sense of it. It's a really slow-moving movie, and I just didn't like this one too much. Nausicaa. Frankenweenie. I didn't see this movie when it came out in the theater. I just watched it for the first time last summer, and I did not enjoy this at all, really. I don't think the stop motion and the black and white color scheme really helped it at all. It was another thing that made it feel more kind of just damp and kind of depressing, but not really a fun movie at all. The kid's dog dies, and he's able to bring it back to life because he loves his dog so much, but I didn't enjoy it. I really didn't. I think Paranorman was a better movie, and I can't recommend Frankenweenie. Not a good Disney movie for me. Lilo and Stitch, another movie that I just saw for the first time actually this past summer. I know a lot of people really love this, and it's one of their childhood favorites, but I had never seen it before. I thought it was an okay movie. I liked the Hawaiian setting. It's fun, it's cute, but nothing that amazing, nothing really blew me away. The second movie, now I'm remembering it. Stitch has a glitch. Basically, Stitch has a really bad temper problem, and he's angry and he's being destructive, and it was really dumb, like a lot of the Disney sequels are, but Lilo and Stitch, the first movie, I thought it was just okay, but definitely not one of my favorite Disney movies. Alright, Oliver and Company. This is actually a Disney movie I liked. I liked it a little more than I thought I would. It was cute. Oliver is like this orphan dog, or is it a cat? I think he's a cat. I can't remember if I think he was at a pound, or like this, he was up for adoption, and I think this boy came and took him home, but then he gets lost, or he runs away and joins this kind of homeless group of dogs that are kind of rough, and they try to make Oliver a street cat. But Oliver wants to go back home, and it was a nice story. It was cute. The music wasn't too bad, wasn't too annoying, so I enjoyed it. Again, not one of my favorite Disney movies, but something I could watch again. Robin Hood. This came out almost 2 years ago on Blu-ray. I just watched it recently. I watched it in December, but Robin Hood. I thought I would really like this movie. I'd heard a lot of great things about it, and I really just couldn't get into it. A Disney movie where, like I was talking about with some of the Studio Ghibli movies, there's just not really a central plot. It's all over the place, a lot of different things going on, different characters. It feels really old, has a really antiquated feel to it, just with the story and the way characters talk and the animation as well. But I really just couldn't get into it too much, and not one of the better Disney movies for me. Alright, moving along. The Nightmare Before Christmas. This is the 20th anniversary edition, which doesn't mean anything, I don't think. It doesn't have any different special features or anything, but another classic Disney movie that I had never seen until I got this past holiday season, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the stop motion animation. I enjoyed the story. I just thought because of all the great things I had always heard about this movie that it was going to be a lot better and really kind of blow me away. It didn't. Definitely a movie I could watch every holiday season. But not my favorite. If you've never seen it, I'm sure everyone has, but Jack, he plans like the Halloween festivals in this town where they only celebrate Halloween, and one day he discovers this portal to this world where they only celebrate Christmas, and he becomes really enchanted and obsessed over this Christmas world, and he wants to bring Christmas to his Halloween town, and yeah, but a nice movie. Just I didn't love it as much as everyone else seems to. Alright, Big Hero 6. This is the Target Steelbook. I really like the artwork on this Steelbook. I'm really glad that they decided to put a Disney movie out, make a Steelbook for it. I believe this is the first ever Disney movie that's had a Steelbook. I'm pretty sure they've never done it before. I hope this sets a precedent and they continue to do this for Disney movies. I know they used to have those Best Buy metal packs that didn't come with the movie, but just like a collectible thing that came with the pre-order of the movie. But yeah, nice Steelbook. But Big Hero 6, I saw this in the theater. I did a movie review for it. Check that out on my channel. But I enjoyed this movie. I thought it was good. Really has some nice moments. Obviously, the character of Baymax and his relationship with Hero. I really enjoyed that. That was a great dynamic. I really like the emotional aspect of the movie. It feels really legitimate. But I thought the movie was lacking a bit in its pacing, and also, you know, this is a superhero movie after all. It's based on a comic, and I just thought they should have embraced that more with the action. There were some really good action scenes, but only at the end, and not very longer extended action scenes. The animation was great. I loved it. This is really a movie where that really modern CGI computer digital look works well. I thought the animation here was just a million times better than in Frozen. But a really nice movie that has its moments. I just wouldn't quite, elevate it to that masterpiece level that everyone else seems to. I'd give this movie a B+, whereas I think a lot of other people would say this is an A movie, but solid movie, and I do enjoy it, and it's easily rewatchable. Another Steelbook, Zodiac, another David Fincher movie. I had seen this years ago, pretty close when it came out. I think in 2006 or 2007. And I remembered it very well because I really loved it. It really scared me. Obviously, based on some really tragic, true events. And actually, I think just kind of details the case very factually. There's nothing really made up about this. I think it just tells the story of the events and the police case. So a true story, but really dark. The Zodiac killer, serial killer in San Francisco back in I think it was the '60s. But one of Jake Gyllenhaal's early movies, and I actually didn't remember that it was Jake Gyllenhaal in this movie for all these years, and I've just become a really big fan of Jake Gyllenhaal recently. And I didn't feel like he had too much to do in this movie, but he did play a good role. But just a really dark mystery movie, extremely suspenseful. My only complaint about it is that they really tried to make you familiar with all of the facts of the case, but it gets really messy. They don't really take their times to explain some things. They really rush through a lot of things. I think within the first 15 minutes of the movie, they go through like 3 of the murders, and it gets kind of confusing if you really want to follow every detail, every kind of plot point of the case. So it's kind of hard to follow in that respect, but a really good movie. Great David Fincher movie. I highly recommend it. You definitely need to watch this at least once. And a really nice performance as well in that by Mark Ruffalo, who's in another movie here that I'm going to talk about. He plays a very different role, so proves that he's a good actor in that. Batman Assault on Arkham Steelbook. This is the Target exclusive Steelbook. I didn't expect to like this movie at all, but I loved it. Had a really kind of dark but mature feel to it. And from what I understand, the Suicide Squad movie is basically just going to be a live action version of this. From what I understand, there's these group of villains from the Batman universe. Harley Quinn. Who else is there? Captain Boomerang. Deadshot is in this, but they're in jail and they're offered to break into Arkham Asylum, I think, to break out the Joker or to do something, I can't remember, and that's basically the plot of the movie. And Batman is not in it a whole lot, but when he is in it, he definitely feels like Batman. He kicks ass. There's a lot of action in this movie, which I really enjoyed. And for me, this was definitely this is the best DCU movie they've made by far since Flashpoint Paradox. Way better than Throne of Atlantis, which I'll get to in this update, and way better than the other Justice League movie, Justice League War. I really thought this would be a turning point for DCU, but they really disappointed me with Throne of Atlantis. Hopefully Batman vs. Robin is good, but I'm expecting that to be terrible. But this is really the one bright spot of DCU in the past 2 years or so since Flashpoint Paradox, and probably one of my favorite, probably my second favorite DCU movie besides some of the earlier Justice League movies, but probably my second favorite besides Flashpoint Paradox, and maybe my favorite like Batman solo movie. So I really, really enjoyed this. How to Train Your Dragon 2. I really enjoyed this. I saw it in the theater. I've only seen the first one once on Blu-ray, and I enjoyed that one too. When I saw it the first time in the theater, I thought that this was a lot better than the first one. But watching it again on Blu-ray, I don't know, I didn't feel quite the same. Didn't do as much for me. Still a really nice movie, nice animation. There's some more mature themes in here than in the first movie. I like it. It's colorful. Seeing all the dragons fly around, and and battle it out. I thought they could have done a little more with the action scenes in here, but just the story was really great. And yeah, really solid movie. I don't know, when I watched it the second time, I just felt like there was another level they could have reached with it. And I don't know now, after the second watch, if I like this one or the first one better after watching both again. But definitely not a bad movie at all. I mean, I would say it's at least a B+ movie, maybe an A-. So, real solid animated movie, and probably, I think the first one and this one, probably the best non-Disney animated movies in the last, I don't know, maybe 10 years, but really a good movie. I don't know. After watching it again, I felt like there was a little something missing, though, that could have made it even that much better. Maleficent, this is not a good movie. This is not one I would have picked up for myself. I actually got this for someone else, another family member. But I saw this in the theater, and I did not enjoy it at all. I thought it was just a really hard movie to get through, really boring. The color scheme was terrible. Everything is either damp, like really, really dark and black, or when they're in the daylight and they're in the grassy hills, everything looks really faded. Like the grass looks like a really pale green, and it's just a really ugly movie to look at. Angelina Jolie, I felt like her acting was very forced. It didn't come off naturally. It didn't feel fluid, but just a very kind of shallow kids movie. The only thing that impressed me about this movie was some of the action scenes, but you only got them in the very beginning and at the end. And I believe the guy from all the Neil Blomkamp movies, I can't remember his name, the South African guy. I believe he played the main villain in this, and I thought he played that really well. But Maleficent, and if you don't know, it's like a retelling of the story of Maleficent, who is Sleeping Beauty's. What was she like? Her, not her mother, but like the person who put the spell on her. Maleficent was always in the Sleeping Beauty movie. She was portrayed as an evil character, and this basically shows her origin story. But it just doesn't feel unique or creative at all. It feels very shallow and just really boring. I do not recommend this, and I don't like it. It's not something I would really want to watch again, maybe ever. Clint Eastwood, double feature with Dirty Harry and Magnum Force, the first two movies in the Dirty Harry franchise. I think there's about 5 of them. I had seen both of these movies before, but such a long time ago I really didn't remember anything about them. But I actually really liked the first Dirty Harry movie, and I didn't think I would like them because from what I remembered of my first watch of Dirty Harry, I thought it had a really kind of antiquated old feel to it, and it does, but works really well. It actually it's kind of based off of the Zodiac. Takes place in San Francisco, and they're trying to chase down this serial killer, and they actually watch Zodiac the movie in the theater in this movie, so that was kind of funny. But I really liked the first one. I think it was just a great murder mystery, a great detective movie with some really good action. And the second one I didn't think was as good. I just didn't like it as much. The second one, there's like this group of... There are these killings. All of these criminals are being taken out, and I guess I won't spoil it, but the second one to me just wasn't as good. The second one's more about the story, and I think the first one was just kind of more about the atmosphere, the detective feel, and it had that edge to it. So I really liked the first one. Second one not so much, but I only paid like $4 I think for this. It was a Black Friday pickup at Walmart, so happy I got it. And Dirty Harry, definitely a classic movie. Arnold Schwarzenegger in Eraser. This is one of my childhood favorites. I watched the DVD. I had the DVD, and there was one point where I was watching the movie every weekend. I just really loved it. And watching it again, I don't know if I feel quite the same way about it, but to me, this is definitely a really good action movie. Definitely better than a lot of the crap they put out today. It's really cheesy, but definitely has a lot of those over-the-top action scenes that are just so much fun to watch. To me, one of the best Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, action movies, other than Terminator and maybe Predator. But honestly, I probably enjoy this one more than Predator. But that's just me. I really like the movie though. There's like this high-tech weaponry that's being developed where they can like see through buildings and stuff, and there's some government corruption going on, but I really like it. There's a scene where Schwarzenegger jumps out of a plane, and I think he shoots the plane and blows it up, and I just think stuff like that is so cool. An action movie that's cheesy, but I feel like it really has a lot of substance, at least with the action scenes, and a pretty easy story to follow. It doesn't get bogged down by a bunch of confusing stuff. The plot doesn't try to be anything more than a simple story needed for an action movie. So I think this is really good. One of my favorite Schwarzenegger movies. Lawless, I had seen this in the theater when it came out. This came out in 2012, and I was really impressed by it. It just feels like a quality movie with substance, not a lot of flair, but Shia LaBeouf and his brother, who's played by Tom Hardy, they're like these really hard-nosed. They sell moonshine. They make it and they sell it during the Prohibition period in one of these kind of rough towns in the Midwest somewhere. But I really enjoyed it. There's some action in it, not a lot of action, but it's just really the atmosphere and the setting that I really enjoy. Guy Pearce gives a really nice performance in this. It gets really brutal and violent at times, but a pretty unique movie, I think. And I actually really enjoy this one. I think it's one of the more underrated movies. So Lawless, I really recommend that. And definitely one of the more rewatchable movies in this update for me. Inside Man, another Black Friday pickup. It was like $4. I saw this back when it came out, not in the theater, but I saw the DVD. I think it came out in 2007, but a Spike Lee movie. And I had remembered really liking this movie. I thought it was really intelligent and smart. One of the better heist movies, and I still think it is one of my favorite heist movies. But watching it a second time all these years later, didn't feel quite as smart or quite as intelligent. And I think Spike Lee, put a little too much of his kind of hip hop feel to this movie, which I didn't really enjoy. It made the movie, it kind of took away a little bit. But Clive Owen is good in this. Denzel Washington, not a typical Denzel Washington movie or performance for him, but still a nice movie. But I don't think it's one I would watch over and over again. But still one of the better heist movies. Fight Club. I know everyone loves this, and this is always talked about as being, one of the most unique and kind of groundbreaking movies. I don't feel that way about it. This was another Black Friday pickup for me. I had only watched about half of the movie once before, years ago, and I never finished it. And I watched the whole thing through now. I have to say the movie, the twist in it, I just didn't see it coming. I had no idea that that's really what the movie was about, and that really impressed me, that there was such a twist. But in the end, after taking it all in, it just feels a little too bizarre. for me, I know that's definitely what the movie was going for. But I thought it was more about like the actual Fight Club. I had already seen that part, but it's really not. It's about something, you know, much more twisted and bizarre. So I really like the twist, but the whole feel of the movie I think was just a little too damp and dark for me. I did like the visuals in this movie. I was kind of surprised that this was I think it's a late '90s movie. 1999. But I really like the feel, the visual style of it. Kind of a lot of dark blues and blacks, and had kind of at times it looked like that modern digital look, really kind of sleek. I like that, but in other parts of the movie when they're kind of living in the house and they're just beating each other to death almost, and it's really bloody, the movie just feels a little too gritty for me, and there's not much story going on at some points, and I don't know. I didn't quite like that, but I definitely recognize why everyone loves this and why it's such a, it's talked about so much. That twist really, will stick with me because I just would have never seen that coming. So, something I could watch again, but not very often at all. Out of the Furnace. This came out last year, December of. Not last year, but 2013, almost a year ago. And I saw it in the theater. I didn't expect much from it. I would probably give it about a B from my first watch, but since getting the Blu-ray, and this was another Black Friday pickup for me, since getting the Blu-ray, or watching it for the second time, I enjoyed it a little more. But what I really enjoy about this movie, it's very small, very enclosed. It takes place in a small town. They focus on a very small number of characters, just Christian Bale, his brother played by Casey Affleck, Zoe Saldana, who was kind of the love interest of Bale in the movie, and then Forrest Whitaker, who's the county sheriff, and Woody Harrelson, who did an amazing performance in this movie playing the villain. He has a couple of one-liners that are really funny, but he just plays a really dark, menacing guy. And I don't think I've really ever heard anyone talk about his performance or this movie, but to me that's one of, I think, the best villain performances ever is Woody Harrelson in this movie. I would check it out just for that because I thought he was incredible, and by far my favorite Woody Harrelson performance ever. I think his acting in this was, he just showed a whole nother level than he had ever shown before, and really just plays kind of an idiot in a lot of his comedic movies. He just small roles where he plays kind of a buffoon, a silly guy, but in this he was incredible. But it has a really small feel, like I said, just focuses on these characters. Bale's just kind of this hardworking guy. He works at the mill, and his brother Casey Affleck, he's a veteran coming back from the war, and he doesn't want to work a normal job, so he takes like these underground bare knuckle fights, and ends up getting in some trouble, and Bale has to kind of go help. He has to go hunt down these bad guys, and he has to kind of get revenge for something that happened. But I really liked it. It's very simple like that, a very simple, direct plot. And, movies today, I think they really just try to get too convoluted and they try to get too smart with the story. And I could really appreciate something like this that's just very kind of, that's a very small feel to it, a very small scope. So I enjoyed that. I think it's an underrated movie. Definitely one I'll be rewatching a lot. Out of the Furnace. I really liked it. A recent release, an amazing movie. This would have been my number one movie of 2014, Nightcrawler. I did a movie review for this. I saw it in the theater. You can check that out on my channel. It wasn't too long ago. But what an incredible movie. I've become such a fan of Jake Gyllenhaal. He's in these smaller movies that aren't going to be big blockbuster box office hits, but he's just really dedicated to his craft, and you see that in movies like Prisoners, which was my number one movie of 2013. And I really liked him in Enemy as well, even though he was really kind of subdued in that, didn't have a whole lot of lines, didn't show much emotion. And the same thing in Prisoners, but in this movie he just comes alive. He's really charismatic and eccentric. He plays a maniac, really, and the dialogue is just so engaging and so intriguing, so interesting to listen to. I really love the movie. I thought from the trailer that it was really a simple idea. Jake Gyllenhaal just starts recording crime scenes live as they happen, sells the footage to news stations, gets into some trouble along the way. I thought that wasn't enough to make a real plot with with a real story arc, but they definitely made it work. I didn't have any problem with that. A great sleek digital look to this movie. The nighttime scenes where he's driving around the city look just gorgeous. And I really, really love this movie. I love the performance by Jake Gyllenhaal, the best of his career. Everyone was upset that he didn't get nominated. I wasn't surprised. I mean, when I saw the movie in the theater, I knew that he just wasn't going to get nominated for a movie like this. But definitely, to me, had the best performance of any actor last year. So, an amazing movie. Another thing, a lot of movies, and I've mentioned this already in this update several times, a lot of movies that I like in the theater when I watch them for the second time on Blu-ray, they lose something. This movie didn't lose anything. I loved it just as much as when I saw it in the theater. Really, really great. Love Nightcrawler, a real gem. Loved it, and at times it takes on this kind of dark comedic feel, which I really like. So, really great movie. I love Nightcrawler. Have to watch that again real soon. Face Off, another movie that I really just adore. I really love movies that just go for it, that are really extreme, go over the top, don't hold back anything. I have another movie in here, Wolf of Wall Street, that this actually reminds me of, just because they really go over the top and really go for it. But I love it. To me, one of my favorite action comedies of the 90s now. When Nicolas Cage was still a decent actor, not, now he's just making direct-to-DVD movies. It seems that's all he's doing these days, but loved the performances by both Travolta and Cage in this. I'm sure everyone knows what this is, but Travolta plays a detective, and he's trying to catch Cage, who's this high-profile criminal, and they have a long history. And he eventually does arrest him, but he needs to go into prison to get information from one of the guys that was one of the associates of Nicolas Cage. And the only way to do that, they have to switch faces, basically. They have a procedure to do that. And that just creates a whole lot of chaos. It's really funny. Nicolas Cage kind of wakes back up from his coma that he was in, and everything goes awry. But a really great action movie, really funny, really easy to watch and rewatch. I love Face Off. So one of my favorite kind of 90s action movies, I think now. Really, really like this. Alright, Guardians of the Galaxy. This was the Best Buy exclusive Steelbook, which, I wish it would have had some better artwork, but, it's a cool kind of exclusive thing, I guess. I wish, there would have been some more artwork kind of like that on the front, some more color, but, yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy. I know everyone just loves this movie. They think it's the greatest thing ever, and I just don't feel that way. I'm definitely not going to say it's a bad movie, and that's not at all how I feel. I actually think it is a really good movie, and it was, a lot of fun, but I was just left wanting more. I felt that way seeing it in the theater, and I felt that way watching the Blu-ray. It definitely has its moments. The characters obviously are really lovable, you know, all the dialogue, but I think they really just did not do enough with the action scenes. I mean, you have Rocket Raccoon, who, you know, is a raccoon who carries around a rocket launcher, and he just didn't have any screen time in any of the action scenes. I mean, I wanted to see him shoot some people up and you know, blow things up, and he was just completely underused in the action scenes. And the same thing with Groot, you know, who's a tree, and Drax, played by wrestler Dave Bautista. I really felt like these guys did not get the proper screen time for the action scenes. The Avengers did a much better job of that. You know, you really got a sense of what each superhero in that movie could do, what their abilities were here. The action scenes just felt really rushed through. And the plot of this movie, I think everyone's just kind of ignoring, you know, how weak the plot really was, just because it's so much fun and all the characters are funny and everything. And Groot is, you know, a guy everyone is attached to, but the plot, I just couldn't really make sense of it. You know, I don't really see. I know it's not supposed to be related to the rest of the Marvel universe, but the plot just didn't feel that important to me. You know, but I didn't really understand what was at stake, other than, you know, the universe is gonna be destroyed or whatever. The villain I just didn't care for. And that's where I really felt the movie was lacking with the plot and some of the action scenes. But still a really fun movie. Definitely has its moments. I'd give it a B+. I just don't think it's that masterpiece that everyone else thinks it is. And also, the visual style of the movie, I just didn't enjoy. I know with the soundtrack, they were going for that kind of classic 70s, that kind of vintage feel to it. And they did that with the visual style as well. But I just really wish for a movie like this, where they're in space and, you know, there's a lot of color, that they could have just used a modern digital look. I think that really would have benefited this movie. But I'm not saying it's bad, not at all. I still enjoy it. I can watch it. You know, I can rewatch it just fine. But I would definitely not say that this is on the level of the Avengers or even the Winter Soldier. As one of the best Marvel movies, but it is a lot of fun, and I'll say it's definitely better than a lot of the solo Marvel movies, like both of the Thor movies or any of the Iron Man movies. But I just definitely prefer the Avengers. I think in the Avengers they really handled the screen time of all the characters a lot better than they did here. Planet of the Apes. This is the Legacy Collection, has all 5 movies. Planet of the Apes, Beneath the Planet of the Apes, Escape from the Planet of the Apes, Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, and Battle for the Planet of the Apes. I won't talk about each movie, but I'll just say that I absolutely loved the first one, and I really enjoyed the whole series, but the first movie, I absolutely loved it. Probably might be my favorite science fiction movie ever. And it has that similar theme that Interstellar deals with, the time relativity issue, where, you know, time relative to space, time on Earth passes very slowly. And you know, Interstellar, I wish I would have done a movie review for it, and I would have mentioned the first Planet of the Apes movie, because everyone seemed just so amazed and mesmerized by the time relativity theme in Interstellar. But I thought Planet of the Apes handled it in a much more entertaining way. Actually, probably explained it better than you know, in Interstellar, which seemed to be a real gimmick, a gimmicky thing in Interstellar. But Planet of the Apes, I thought it worked a lot better. And maybe it's just because I didn't like Interstellar. I was really disappointed by it. But in Planet of the Apes, I would definitely watch this if you were intrigued by time relativity. So, great science fiction movies. I absolutely loved it. If you've never seen it, and I had never seen any of these movies, I I actually picked this up just before Dawn of the Planet of the Apes came out. And it was one of the best deals ever. It was like $20 for all 5 movies and a ticket to see the new movie. And I definitely enjoy these movies better than the new ones. But Planet of the Apes, if you've never seen it, they're these astronauts. I think they might be NASA, but they go up into space for some expedition, and they after a long time, they're up there for like the same thing in Interstellar. They're not up there for that long, but they know that time as many years have passed on Earth. They actually have like a meter on the spaceship where they keep track of that, and they land eventually on some planet, and the apes are basically in charge. They're like humans are, and how the humans are in our world. The humans are like animals over there. They're enslaved. They're in chains and in cages, and the apes are the ones living like free creatures. So everything's reversed. It deals with that theme a lot, which I thought was really interesting and probably really controversial at the time. But I loved it. And each movie picks up right where the previous one left off, so it's very linear and direct. Really love that. It's not like time has passed between any of the movies. It's really great, and even up till the last movie, I still really enjoyed all of them. They just kind of each one took a step down from the previous one, but really love this entire series, and I highly recommend it. Great science fiction movies. There's even some really good action in some of the later movies, but I can't say enough good things about it. I really was impressed and kind of blown away by how good this series was. And looks really good on Blu-ray as well. Obviously really old movies. I think the first one came out in the 60s, but I think they did a good job with the Blu-ray transfer, because it looked pretty good. All right, moving right along. Frozen. If you guys don't know, I did a review for this about a year ago, and it was really a big video for me. I think it got about 20,000 views since I made it. And I really didn't like Frozen at all when I saw it in the theater. I think I gave it a C in my review. I might have been a little too harsh since watching the Blu-ray or watching it for the second time. I think I've warmed up to it just a little bit. I might bump that C up to a B- maybe. But I still, like, all of my complaints about the movie stand. I mean, I don't take back anything I said about it. It feels really shallow to me. The story's just not interesting. It's not even, there's not like a real conflict in the movie. I mean, it's just, the sister, I don't understand, in the first place how, they were living in the same house and just kind of isolated from each other for all those years. And then, when they finally see each other again, the sister just kind of has a breakdown and, runs off to the mountain where, she creates a permanent winter. But I just thought it was a shallow movie. People say this is better than The Lion King. Makes no sense to me at all. The Lion King is just, to me, an incredible movie and probably one of the best, or probably might be the best Disney movie ever made. And this, to me, just feels really immature. Feels really tailored to little kids and little girls. And I love the song "Let It Go." I think it's really catchy, and I really liked how they used it in the movie. But just the story aspect and the characters as well, all of them felt really shallow. I thought Olaf was really annoying. I still don't like it, but I mean, it's easy enough to get through. There are worse Disney movies, but I don't understand all the love for it. I mean, to me, I guess I do, because, people aren't really looking for substance in movies these days, but to me, it's not a good movie for me. And yeah, they're making the sequel, which I really don't know where they can go from for the second one. I mean, I hope they do something adventurous go fight evil, do something that feels important, but I didn't like it, and I made a big deal in my review about the visual style of it, the CGI. I really wish they would just make some more hand-drawn animated movies again. I just think it looks a lot better. I don't think every single movie needs to be CGI. I think it worked really well for Big Hero 6, but in this movie I thought the visuals were pretty awful a lot of the time. And there's one scene in particular where they do like a hover shot over the village, I think Arendelle, and it looks awful. It looks like one of those world building games like Minecraft where you lay down like the building blocks and it has like that really blank digital look. But you just had kind of this village and then this snow in the background, and there was like nothing else in the environment. There was like nothing going on in the sky. It looked awful. It looked like a pre-production image, honestly, and Frozen is not a good movie for me, but I know everyone else loves it. A Christmas movie, Arthur Christmas. I just watched this for the first time this past Christmas season, and it started off really cool. I thought it would be a better movie just from the introduction than it was, but it started off with a really cool scene. There are these, you can see those little elves. They're like little infantry men, little soldiers. It was really cool how they were delivering the presents on Christmas Day, and climbing down the chimney, and all that. There's a really cool scene at the beginning with all of that. The animation is really different. The animation was great, but the main story, I think these guys are Australian or something. They have Australian or British accents. But Arthur, the guy in the green there, he's the son of Santa Claus. And then he has a brother who, I don't know, looks like he's old enough to be his father. But he's like the military general. Basically, they run Christmas from this spaceship where they have all the elves and everything. But Arthur's kind of like he's looked down on in the family. He's not really respected like his father or his brother. He's doesn't really fit in with them. But anyway, there's one kid in the whole world who didn't get his present. There was a mistake there, and Arthur wants to go deliver that present. So everyone's kind of against him doing it. They don't really care if this kid gets his present or not. But Arthur travels around the world to deliver this kid's present, and he gets lost. It's one of those movies where they have one place to get to, but they get sidetracked a million times. It's super fast paced. There's like a chase scene every other minute, and then they get lost again and sidetracked. And I just lost interest after a while. It got really kind of boring and really tiring to watch. So not a good movie, not one I would definitely not on the top of my holiday movies to watch during the Christmas season. And really the only good thing I can say about it is the animation. It looks really good, but not a good movie. All right, King Kong. This is a steelbook that came out about a year ago. I really like the look of this steelbook. I saw this movie when it came out in the theater back in, I think it was 2005 or 2006. And I really enjoyed the movie back then. And I think this was my second time. It was probably my first time watching it since I saw it in the theater about 10 years ago. And I still really enjoyed it. To me, it's a great kind of monster movie. And the visuals in this movie are as good as anything today. The CGI in this, I think, looked even better than a lot of kind of modern monster movies. It doesn't feel dated or old at all. I think it's, the visuals are, the same quality as stuff being put out today. And the big complaint about this movie for a lot of people is that it's too long, and they don't like that hour or so of the human element, the backstory of all the characters in New York, where Naomi Watts is a like a Broadway singer or actress, and Jack Black is the struggling kind of promoter or filmmaker, I think. But I actually didn't mind that. I don't really know why. I didn't dislike that part. I kind of enjoyed all of their backstories and seeing that human part before they get to Skull Island. And once they do get there, I really enjoy all the King Kong scenes. Like I said, the visuals feel they feel just as high quality as today's stuff. I love the King Kong scenes and his fight scenes. They work really well. Obviously a long movie, but I really enjoy it. I think it's kind of underrated and gets more hate than is really warranted here. But I think it's a really good movie. And I'm really excited for the sequel that they're making, Skull Island. I think it's supposed to come out in 2018, but I really enjoy King Kong. A couple of Disney movies, Hercules. This came out last June on Blu-ray. I got it through the Disney Movie Club, and I'm not sure if I had ever seen this one before. I don't think that I had, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was a nice story. Not one of my favorite Disney movies ever, but I'd say maybe my top 20 maybe favorite Disney movies. Better than some of the other ones. I mean, it's better than Frozen. But I enjoyed it. Nothing amazing, but pretty good. I liked it. Not a whole lot to say about it. And then Tarzan. I got this also with Hercules from the Disney Movie Club. And I'd seen this in the theater when I was really young, whenever it came out, I think 2002. And I didn't remember anything about it, but I just kind of remembered really liking the movie. And in my head, I just had that this was like one of the best Disney movies ever. And when I watched it again, I didn't feel that way. Just nothing about it really kind of amazed me or blew me away. Didn't feel like The Lion King, didn't feel as grand or as rich of a story, but still a nice movie. It's colorful. I like it. I can't say it's one of my top Disney movies, but a good movie. Better than the average Disney movie, I'd say. All right, RoboCop. I believe this is 4K, 4K remastered version. And I had seen RoboCop several times. I have the Blu-ray trilogy for the standard release, the one that's not remastered, and just one of my favorite classic action movies ever. I really, really enjoy RoboCop. Has a great dark comedic feel at times, but also has an emotional aspect which kind of fits in with that cheesy dark feel. But also I think it has some legitimate emotional weight to it. And the action is it's cheesy, but it's great. I love it. I really love RoboCop. A great comedic action movie. And I didn't remember the standard release looking too bad on Blu-ray. Although it was really grainy, and I'm not sure. I don't remember how I felt about the transfer, but I do think it was better. But I just love RoboCop. I really didn't like the remake. I mean, I didn't hate it, but I don't think you can even begin to say that it's as good as this one. I know some people like it better, but to me, I would just watch this one every day over the remake. I mean, this to me is really one of the best action movies ever made, and the remake really didn't do much for me. So I really love RoboCop, a really timeless classic to me, and one I can easily rewatch. All right, not a movie I really want to say a whole lot about, but The Three Musketeers. The only reason I bought this was because I mistakenly thought this was one of the classic Disney movies being re-released on Blu-ray, but I think just because of the title, The Three Musketeers, I think I got it confused with The Three Caballeros, or one of those really old movies, and only after I bought it and opened it did I realize that this was like a a movie that's only 10 years old and is just like a really childish thing. It's just the story of the Three Musketeers with the Disney characters, Donald, Mickey, and Goofy. But yeah, you know, what can I say about it? It's not fun. It's not great. It's definitely not a mature movie. The only thing that made it, you know, just passable enough to watch through it was Goofy. He was, you know, his being typical Goofy, saying some silly stuff, and you know, being a buffoon. It's kind of funny, but I don't know. I wish I wouldn't have spent the money on it, but I don't know if I could ever watch it again. But yeah, that's the Three Musketeers. Commando, Arnold Schwarzenegger. This is another movie just like Eraser. I had the DVD of this and watched it countless times as a kid. One of my favorite action movies ever. An extremely simple plot, but it just works so well. And, you know, classic Arnold Schwarzenegger. To me, this and Eraser are my favorite Schwarzenegger movies other than The Terminator. Maybe Predator, which, you know, I think is really overrated, but I really love this movie. Great brutal action, an extremely simple plot that's easy to follow, and really just kind of one of my favorite movies ever. Commando. Turbo, an animated movie that I really don't like. It just feels like it's just not mature at all. It's not one of those movies that's for the whole family. It feels like a movie for really young kids who don't really care about, you know, the quality of the movies they watch. I like the beginning. That's something I've kind of realized with a lot of animated movies, is that it seems to be like a lot of effort put into the introduction of these movies, like the first 15 minutes or so. But after that, it just it wasn't interesting at all. There's this snail. He lives in this garden of this house somewhere with a bunch of other snails, and he dreams of being a fast snail. He wants to be a race car, and I think he was struck by lightning or something one day, and he just becomes really fast, and then he wants to enter the I guess it's like the Indy 500. He competes against these race cars, but it's just really silly, and I didn't care about it at all. I didn't find it interesting, but yeah, Turbo, not a good movie. I don't recommend it. Whiplash, a recent release. I was disappointed that I didn't get a slipcover with this, but I saw the trailer for this. I saw the trailer maybe a few months before it came out, but I didn't get to see it in the theater. It wasn't. It didn't get a wide release. It was a limited release movie, but I'd heard how much everyone loved this. It was in a bunch of top 10 lists of a lot of YouTubers, movies of the year, and I really enjoyed it. I knew what to expect from the trailer. I think the trailer was great in showing you know, what the movie was about. J.K. Simmons plays this really harsh and cruel music teacher who just pushes his students really hard and really kind of demeans them, says really hurtful things to try to, you know, just get them to be really great. And Miles Teller plays a drummer, and some people have said that you know, don't think of it as a music movie because that might turn you away from it. But I mean, I'm a musician. I love music, and I love the music in here. I mean, jazz, I guess, isn't for everyone, but I really loved the soundtrack to this movie, and like the music they actually play. Like, you see them playing, they're actually playing music in the movie, and I loved it. Miles Teller had a great performance. You know, he wasn't actually drumming in the movie, he was faking it, although he does play drums. But a really great movie. And one thing I want to say about J.K. Simmons, I actually thought his character in here was really similar to the character he played in Contraband, a Mark Wahlberg movie, came out a few years ago. Completely different movies, but he played a ship captain in there, and he had some really funny one-liners. It wasn't a big role, but just from when I saw the trailer before this came out, I immediately, made the connection between his character in here and the one from Contraband. And I haven't heard anyone else mention that, but I think you guys should definitely check out Contraband just for that if you liked his work here. But I'm really glad this was nominated for Best Picture, didn't win it, and really glad that J.K. Simmons won Best Supporting Actor because it was a really great performance. And I really love the movie. If you don't like music, I don't know if you'll love the movie. I mean, I know a lot of people on YouTube did, but I think music is a big part of the movie. But it's really funny, some of the stuff J.K. Simmons says, and he gives a great performance. So I really liked Whiplash, and would definitely be in my top 10 movies of the year. I never got around to making that video, but maybe I will one day. 101 Dalmatians came out back in February, got through the Disney Movie Club. Really like the look of the slipcover here. I don't know if I had ever seen this movie before, but not one of my favorites, but I enjoyed it. It feels a little dated, a little old. I mean, obviously it is an old movie, but there's just kind of too many things happening. The same thing I've said with a lot of other movies already. There's not really a central plot. I mean, there is at the end, but you kind of have to go through a lot of, there's a lot of the movie is just kind of, these dogs and, taken in by this family, and there's just a lot of different things going on. But it was cute. It was easy enough to get through, and that's enough for me. So a decent movie, but not one of my favorites. Not one of my favorite Disney movies. Total Recall. This is the Steelbook. I think it was a Best Buy exclusive. The original Total Recall. This Steelbook came out a couple years ago. I got it when it came out. But anyways, Total Recall. A movie I watched once when I was a kid. And I really loved it back then. I always had it in my mind that this was like a really action-packed, great sci-fi movie. And I didn't feel that way watching it for the second time. I think it started off well, but the plot just got a little too convoluted. Went in some kind of weird directions. I think they tried to, make it a little too clever. I didn't really like it, although it is a way better movie than the Colin Farrell remake, which is horrible. But not quite as much action as I remembered. A little too cheesy for me. I mean, I know that's what these Schwarzenegger movies are all about, but compared to something like Eraser or Commando, I definitely like those movies a lot more than Total Recall. And to me, it's just kind of an average movie. I don't know how eager I would be to rewatch it, but it's just kind of okay, but definitely not as great as I remembered it being from when I watched it as a kid. Good Will Hunting. I'm so glad that I picked this up on Black Friday. It was just like a couple bucks or something. And what a beautiful movie. The first time I watched this was years ago in my high school psychology class. And I really loved watching it in school. It's one of the best movies that I ever had to watch for school, probably the best ever. And, I liked it for that reason, applying some psychology stuff to it. Robin Williams plays a psychologist in this, but such a beautiful drama. And I already mentioned this, but I'm not a big fan of drama movies. But this movie, I just love it so much. A beautiful movie about life, about the struggles of this guy, Will Hunting, played by Matt Damon. What an incredible performance by Matt Damon. I think one of the best performances ever from any movie by any actor. And it really kind of disappointing that he never really got a role to act like this again. I mean, I always knew him from the Bourne movies, and I liked him in there. I liked the Bourne movies, but his acting here was just incredible with the Boston accent and everything. And something about movies set in Boston, always seem to turn out really well. Like this movie, completely unrelated movies too. Like this movie, The Town, Mystic River. All those movies I really, really enjoy. They all have that something about that Boston setting. But anyways, Good Will Hunting. If you've never seen it, Will Hunting, played by Matt Damon, he's a genius, and extremely smart, just like this super genius kid has this brain that can just he can really solve anything. And he's working as a janitor in this college. Just kind of hangs out with his drinking buddies, and they're just kind of street kids. And he's content with that life. He doesn't really want to get a job, like an office job or something like that. Doesn't want to take advantage of his genius. But one day, one of the professors, he takes notice of him. He solves a problem that the professor left up on the board, and the professor wants to take him in, and he wants his help on his work that he's doing. But he has to, for Matt Damon to do this, he also has to accept to see a psychologist to help kind of work out some of his his social problems and stuff like that, because he's a really angry, kind of rebellious guy. And so he sees Robin Williams, who's a psychologist, and he's able to kind of break through to him, kind of open him up, and it's really a beautiful movie. Some really sad, emotional moments, but in the end, a feel-good movie. And Robin Williams, I said this before, like his comedy movies just don't work for me, but he's so good in these dramatic roles, where he really just plays these caregivers in different forms, like in this movie and in Patch Adams, and he's a doctor, and in Awakenings, which I already talked about, he's a doctor. The way he just cares for people through his characters is really beautiful, and I really love the movie. A great movie about life and emotions, overcoming struggles. Really, really enjoy it. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. This is the Best Buy metal pack, and I really love the artwork here. I saw this in the theater, and I enjoyed it. And I felt about the same way watching the Blu-ray. Kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy, movie that really has its moments, but just doesn't quite go to that next level for me. Definitely a huge improvement over the first one. Definitely, but the human element I don't like in this movie. They try to get you to care about these different human characters, but they just don't give you any backstory at all. Gary Oldman was really the only good actor in this movie. I liked what he brought to the table, but the lead character, Jason Clarke, who's in the new Terminator movie, he just feels like a very dry actor to me. Not that he does anything badly, but I don't see why they can't get anyone else to do that part. But it's really just the only part of the movie that really interests me is the apes in the forest, the fighting amongst the apes. I thought the fighting amongst the apes was a lot more interesting than when the apes fought the humans. That part felt a little hokey to me. But when the apes were fighting each other, that felt like real and authentic. And the color scheme of the movie, the apes are in the forest where it's always raining and it's dirty and damp. I didn't really like the color scheme after a while. It just kind of brings me down. Kind of makes me feel kind of icky, and I don't know. I know that's what they were going for, but I didn't really like it. One thing that everyone says about this movie is that the apes look real. The apes look so amazing. I actually don't feel that way at all. I think the CGI is very apparent. the way that the apes kind of, that their fur and skin kind of contrasts with the background is really kind of stark. Um, and it was really noticeable for me. Like, it didn't look like they were just blending in. I felt that the CGI was very apparent, and they didn't look real at all. But still a good looking movie. And I felt like the plot was important. I felt there were the stakes were high for what was going on between the humans and the apes in here. It just never really quite went to that next level for me, but definitely enjoyed it way more than the first one. It is a movie I'll be rewatching, but another kind of B plus movie that's not quite in that A range. Heat, another Black Friday Steelbook pickup. It was like $8 at Walmart. I had seen this before, and I know this is one of everybody's favorite 90s action movies, and it's not for me. The action does work really well, although there's not a ton of action. The audio and some of the shootouts is really great. The gunfire is really blaring, and I thought that was pretty cool. Pacino and De Niro, they're doing their regular things. They're really good. Pacino plays a detective. He's trying to run down De Niro, who's a criminal here. But the real problem for this movie, for me, is that there are just way too many characters, and they go into great detail with all their backstories. They really try to make you care about all of them, and I just thought that was unneeded. Like, there's this one henchman of De Niro who really isn't important, and he was in jail, gets out, and he tries to work as a cook at this restaurant, but he's kind of mistreated by his boss, and it's just like, I don't care about seeing any of that. It's just way too many characters that they try to get you to care about, and really kind of bogs down the movie for me. But a decent, okay action movie, something I could rewatch, not all the time, but to me it's an acceptable action movie. Not one of my favorites though. The original Christmas classics with Santa Claus Comes to Town, Frosty the Snowman, Frosty Returns, and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I saw all these for the first time this past Christmas season. I know that probably sounds crazy because, especially Frosty, everyone talks about that as just being, one of the all-time great Christmas movies. But I'd never seen any of these. I picked it up for like $20. That was a good deal. But Santa Claus is Coming to Town. I thought that was good. I was impressed by it. I liked it. Nice origin story of Santa Claus. These are all, besides the two Frosty movies, the other two are stop motion. And I like Santa Claus is Coming to Town. That's good. That's one that I can watch every holiday season. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, I just thought was really boring and uninteresting. I just really didn't like it. And then Frosty Returns, I thought was okay. I'm kind of, everyone says it's their favorite movie, but I didn't feel that way. I thought it was okay. And Frosty Returns was really kind of weird. There was like an MTV reference. There was this like 80-year-old guy riding around in a limo, trying to act like a gangster or something. It was pretty weird, and yeah. But Santa Claus is Coming to Town. That's a good one. I don't think I'll be watching Rudolph again. And Frosty, I guess I could rewatch, but I don't know. I guess I was expecting more of these, but I don't know. It's a cool looking set, so I guess I'm glad to have that. The Hobbit: The Desolation of Smaug. I saw this in the theater. I thought it was decent, not as good as the first one. Watched the Blu-ray, and I thought it was rather disappointing. The wine barrel action scene is good, but that's really the only really good action scene you get in the entire movie. It just drags in some spots. It doesn't feel as adventurous as the first one. I love the third one, by the way, which actually just came out today, and I unboxed that, so check out my unboxing. But just not as good to me as the first or the third at all. And the end of the movie where you finally get to see Smog, that's supposed to be like the most epic part of the movie, but it just didn't feel that way. It just felt like it continued to drag for too long. You just see Smog talking for 20 minutes, and it wasn't it wasn't epic at the end. And I don't know. I think this is kind of the weak movie of the Hobbit trilogy. I love 1 and 3, but this one I just found it to be boring and didn't do much for me. Escape Plan with Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone. Another movie I saw in the theater, and I enjoyed it. I really did, mostly because Bullet to the Head and The Last Stand were really kind of disappointing. This wasn't your typical, shoot 'em up action movie. They try to be clever with the plot. I mean, it feels really cheesy at times with, some of the subplots going on. But it was different enough. It felt, smart at some times. I really liked that Sylvester Stallone, he's an intelligent guy in the movie, really has to use his brains to kind of get out of some situations, not just, kill everyone. And the action in it was nice. It was decent. A different kind of movie. I enjoyed it. The Expendables, I really love those movies, but both of these guys returned to acting, Schwarzenegger and Stallone. I think it's largely been a failure. Bullet to the Head, I thought was terrible. And with Schwarzenegger, The Last Stand was really just, it was too silly. And Schwarzenegger's other movie that came out last year, Sabotage, was really disappointing. So this to me is definitely better than that. This I can rewatch and I can get through it. It's something a little different. Feels smart at points. So I'm happy with this. Definitely not a great movie. Still really cheesy, but better than the other solo Sylvester Stallone and Schwarzenegger movies that have come out recently. X-Men Days of Future Past. This is the Target metal pack, and I absolutely loved this movie. I saw it in the theater. X-Men, except for the first movie that came out, I saw every single... Well, that's not true. I see most of the X-Men movies in the theater, and I mean, that's the Wolverine, and, I didn't see First Class or the first X-Men movie, but 2 and 3, I saw those in the theater, and I really loved them. X-Men Days of Future Past, so it might be the best one technically and plot-wise out of all of the X-Men movies. I still think 2 might be my favorite, and I really enjoy 1 as well. But Days of Future Past, just such a compelling, engaging story. Really keeps you on the edge of your seat, and I just felt like what was going on was so important. Like, I felt like the fate of the X-Men universe really hung in the balance of the events that were taking place in this movie. And you always want that, especially for a superhero movie. And really for any movie, you really want to feel like, the stakes are really high and what's going on is super important. And this movie definitely accomplished that. Did a really great job of making you care about different characters like Wolverine and the young Charles Xavier, who I really loved. I think James McAvoy is the actor who plays him. I really love his performance in this movie and in First Class. I think some people don't like him, but just a really emotional movie. Great storytelling. What was most impressive about this for me was that it had very little action, which is always a problem for me. I'm always complaining about that, especially with superhero movies. Very little action in this movie, but I really didn't care at all. It was not a problem for me at all. And, like I said, for me, that's always a huge complaint and always really kind of detracts from movies for me. But the story was just so compelling and engaging that I really didn't care that there wasn't much action at all. and just a great movie. I can't wait for Apocalypse, but this to me was really, really great. Was it? This might have been my number one movie of 2014. I think it was. I'm not quite sure, but definitely top three of 2014. Really, really great stuff. All right, next up is Enemy. This movie came out last year. It had a limited theatrical release. I didn't get to see it in the theater. I was really excited to see it though because it's by the same director of Prisoners, Denis Villeneuve, and stars Jake Gyllenhaal. And I really love Gyllenhaal in Prisoners, and I really liked him in here as well, although he had a really kind of subdued role, played a very reserved character, not many lines, but I thought he worked really well for this movie. It's a psychological thriller. It's a mystery movie. Jake Gyllenhaal's character, one day he sees a guy who looks exactly like him in a movie, and he sets out to find this guy, track him down, and there's a lot of tension, just kind of in the atmosphere they create in this movie. And because it's a mystery movie, the first time I was really kind of hooked to the story. I was really on the edge of my seat wanting to know how this would play out. There's a lot of artsy moments. People have compared it to Only God Forgives, and I wouldn't go that far just because there is a plot here that you can really grasp, and a plot that really anchors the movie, which Only God Forgives kind of lacked and really just went overboard with all of the symbolism and stuff. And there's definitely a lot of symbolism in here, but I feel like you can ignore that because the main story is interesting and it is a mystery movie. In the end, it is a mystery movie, kind of psychological thriller. But the second time I watched it, it really didn't do much for me. I was actually kind of disappointed. I thought the second time watching this, I'd be able to get a lot out of it, but unfortunately I didn't, and that kind of brought the movie down for me. From my first watch, I would have definitely put this in my top 10 movies of the year. After seeing some other movies and after the second watch, maybe outside the top 10, but I don't think it's really fair to discredit this movie because of the second watch. It really is a movie that that first watch is really gonna do it for you, because it is a psychological thriller and a mystery movie, but a really unique, different kind of interesting movie. If you can just kind of look past all of the bizarre, really artful moments in this movie, then I think you can really enjoy it, because the main plot is interesting. And yeah, Enemy. Thor: The Dark World. I saw this movie in the theater, got the Blu-ray when it came out, and the first watch in the theater, I definitely liked it more than watching it on Blu-ray. Seeing it for the second time, I just thought it was really disappointing. There wasn't quite as much action as I remembered from seeing it in the theater. And this movie, to me, is just not on the same level as the Avengers or either of the Captain America movies, which are the only good solo movies to me from Marvel. But yeah, Thor: The Dark World, I just think it's really disappointing. I wish they could ignore the whole Earth aspect, especially with Natalie Portman's character, Jane. I wish they could just, do without that. And something that I think is a problem with a lot of these solo Marvel movies, the plot, I just don't care about. It was the same thing with Guardians of the Galaxy, but I think it's more of a problem with Thor and Iron Man as well, is that you just don't feel that what goes on in these movies has any connection at all to, the larger Marvel universe. And that's not the case at all with Winter Soldier, and that's what made that movie so great. But I know they're solo movies, but even considering that it's their own story, it just doesn't feel important. The villain was really awful in this. It's just not a villain you'll remember or care about. Yeah, but I hope if they make another Thor movie, I hope they could just stay in space and feel like they make it feel like they're doing something important. But I thought this was pretty disappointing. I'd probably give it a B- after the second watch, whereas based on the first watch, I'd probably give it a B+. The Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy. I grew up with these movies. I saw all of them in the theater, and then the Amazing Spider-Man, the new thing, is what all the kids are watching, I guess. What the kids now are growing up with. Those are the Spider-Man films that they're familiar with, but to me, these are just so much better than the Amazing Spider-Man movies. I hate both of the Spider-Man, the newer ones, the Amazing Spider-Man films. The first one I thought was, just average, below average, but barely passable. And the second one was just awful. These movies are not perfect by any means. They're not great movies, but compared to the Amazing Spider-Man, I think these movies are just stronger in every aspect. Especially in the second, the Amazing Spider-Man movie, they were cramming so many different plot elements into that movie. It was just extremely messy and cramped. Here Sam Raimi, I think, especially in the first two, does a really good job of just giving you a simple plot. It might feel like too much of a romance story sometimes, but the action in here, I think, is a lot better than in the newer movies. And even the third movie, which everyone hates, and I definitely think that the whole Venom story and that personal crisis that Peter Parker has in the third movie, that's just really weird and bizarre. It really ruins the movie, but if you take that out, I think Spider-Man 3 had the premise had a good premise and had the makings to be a good movie. I liked the dynamic between Harry, the Green Goblin's son, and Spider-Man. 1 and 2, 1 was always my favorite and still is. 2 I don't think is quite as great as everyone makes it out to be, but I do really like these movies a lot better than the newer ones, and I don't really understand why most people seem to feel the opposite way. But I enjoy these movies, 1 and 2, and I will always go to these before watching the newer movies. Alright, Son of Batman, the Target Steelbook, which has some nice artwork, but I did not like this at all. What was the movie that came out before this? Was it Justice League War, which was not good either, but that movie was definitely another step up from this. Son of Batman, Damian Wayne, Bruce Wayne's son. His mother was Talia al Ghul. He's living in Ra's al Ghul's compound where they train their soldiers or whatever. And there's a raid on the compound, and he has to go live with Batman. And it's just awful. It feels like a children's movie. This kid, Damian, he's so bratty and really annoying. Batman's chasing him around the city like a babysitter, just trying to keep him out of trouble, and it's just awful. I really didn't like this at all. There wasn't a big payoff with great action at the end. Just really disappointing, and felt very immature. Batman vs. Robin comes out next month. The sequel to this And really from the trailer, to me, just seems like a continuation of this exactly. I don't really see what's new about the sequel, even story-wise. I think it looks pretty awful. I'm expecting it to be a bad movie. I'm gonna get it, but yeah, I didn't like this at all, and I don't have any hope for Batman vs. Robin. No Country for Old Men. This is a movie that I've seen several times before getting the Blu-ray. I think it's become one of the more popular, iconic movies of the past decade or so. Kind of Javier Bardem's start, and he's great in this movie, although people always really rave about his performance here and how he did such a great job hiding his accent. But I actually think, I don't know if it's just because I'm looking for it, but watching it several times after my first watch, I listened for his accent, and I think it's definitely there, and I don't think he does a really great job of hiding it at all. But the movie, I'm sure everyone is familiar with it. I enjoy it. I love the Texas border, the Texas-Mexican border setting, and that feel and that culture. I really like it. Kind of a slow burn movie, but there is some good action in it, some really fast-paced, tense moments. But just kind of a nice movie. I think I've kind of worn out on it a bit after watching it. I probably watched this 4 or 5 times in the last couple years, but a good movie, and nice one to have. You can always kind of go back and watch this because it's that good. Alright, Gangs of New York. This was a Black Friday pickup for me this past Black Friday. It was only like $4, and a Scorsese film, another Scorsese and DiCaprio film, and that's obviously been a great combination. Shutter Island, The Departed, and Wolf of Wall Street, all of those really good movies. I think The Departed and Wolf of Wall Street are going to be, like, to me, those are movies, just the cream of the crop for the past decade of movies. Those movies to me are just incredible. And when you talk about people's legacies in movies, Scorsese and DiCaprio, those are really some fine achievements. All those great films in one decade. But this movie to me is definitely not on the same level as those other movies. It's really long. It's about 3 hours. You have Daniel Day-Lewis giving a great performance. DiCaprio is his performance is really something to admire as well. But I don't know, the movie just feels a little dry to me. It's in that kind of old world setting, old time New York, I guess, like the early, I think it's the early 1900s, but deals with the kind of the Irish immigrants and the different Irish clans, or I think that it's about one main Irish clan that settled in New York, and their kind of rivalry with a native American group that's been there longer. But there's a point about 2 hours in where I thought the movie climaxed and should have had a big scene after that and ended right there. But instead it went on for an hour, and that last third act of the movie I thought was really unneeded. I really kind of lost all interest and brought the movie down a little bit for me. It's a really bloody and brutal movie. There's some really graphic violence in here, but definitely a movie worth checking out. Some good performances, but it doesn't, definitely wouldn't compare this to some of Scorsese and DiCaprio's other films like The Departed or Wolf of Wall Street. It's not on that level, but a decent movie. The Lego Movie. I saw this in the theater and I absolutely loved it. It would have been in my top 5 movies after the first time I watched it. But when I watched the Blu-ray again, it just it's missing a little something. I still enjoyed it. Still thought it was really entertaining and funny. Visually, the Blu-ray is not as good as what I remembered it being in the theater. I thought it was it just had more of a. I thought it just looked cleaner in the theater. It had brighter colors and a more digital look, and the Blu-ray looked a little more washed out and faded. But the movie itself, I think, again, that first watch, and I really wasn't expecting it to be so great. I thought the idea of a Lego movie was pretty dumb, and the movie turned out to be good, and that really surprised me. And maybe it just, that alone made the movie seem better than it was to me. And the second time just wasn't as great, but still a good, entertaining movie. It's easily rewatchable, and I still think one of the better movies of 2014. Would probably still be in my top 10 actually of the year. So I still think this is a pretty solid film. The Indiana Jones, the Complete Adventures, all of 4 movies, and I had seen maybe bits and pieces of the first and second movie before I got the Blu-ray, but I don't think I ever sat down and watched the entire movie, either the first or the second, and I know I didn't see the third one, but I watched all of them when I got this, watched them all last summer, and I really enjoyed them. Obviously classics and really iconic movies, but I love the old kind of antiquated feel that these movies have. Really fun action. They feel really lighthearted and adventurous. The third one, I thought it did a great job of kind of reinvigorating the series a little bit. It was a really different feel from the first two, more of a kind of a mystery movie. And even the fourth one, which everyone hates, I still enjoyed that. I still thought it was really adventurous, and there was good action in there. But just great movies. I think the first one is probably my favorite, but I really enjoyed all of them. First 3, obviously better than the fourth one, but I still thought they were all really good. And Indiana Jones, everyone loves these. And movies I would really be willing to watch over and over again. The Wolf of Wall Street, this was a movie that I was in the middle of watching during my last update a year ago. I really like the look of this steelbook, by the way, but I haven't seen it since then, and I've been dying to watch this for the past year since I saw it. When I was done watching it the first time, I immediately wanted to watch it again, and that almost never happens with me with movies, but I really want to see this one and probably go and watch it within the next couple of days. But The Wolf of Wall Street, Scorsese and DiCaprio, what I was just talking about, The Departed, to me, is one of the best movies of all time. Shutter Island was really good as well. And this, I had heard all the hype about it. I didn't get to see this in the theater, so I had actually made my top 10 list of 2013 without seeing this. And Prisoners was my number 1 movie. I still think it would be my number 1 movie. I actually didn't like the trailer for this. I think the trailer did a poor job of how it portrayed this movie. But after seeing this, it would definitely be my number 2 movie of the year. And I just loved it when I watched it. Balls to the wall. I said earlier when I was talking about Face Off that movie reminded me of this, or this reminded me of Face Off, because I saw Face Off before The Wolf of Wall Street. But it's just balls to the wall, completely over the top, extreme. It just goes for it, and I really love that. I can really appreciate that, and it worked really well. Really funny, really extreme and bizarre in some moments. Another really great performance by Leonardo DiCaprio. He just, he puts everything he has, all of his energy into these roles, and it was great. I loved it. A 3-hour movie, but I wasn't bored for 1 second, because it was just extremely fast-paced and very funny. something new happening every scene. I just really love the movie. I can't wait to watch it again, and I think it's a really special movie, close to being a masterpiece. Probably my second favorite DiCaprio and Scorsese film, other than The Departed. So, really great movie here, The Wolf of Wall Street. Source Code. I'd seen this movie whenever it came out on DVD. I think it was 2010 maybe, but I hadn't seen it since then. I got the Blu-ray about a year ago, and I just watched it actually a few months ago, but I really enjoyed it. I thought I wouldn't enjoy it because it's another one of those kind of mystery movies a little bit, and I didn't quite remember all the details, how things played out, so I was kind of able to relive that mystery aspect of it. But I think it's a really underrated sci-fi film. It's kind of suspenseful. I don't know, now that I watched it recently, and now I know exactly how things play out. I don't know if I would get the same feeling out of this watching it again so soon, but not a great performance by Jake Gyllenhaal. I mean, it's not on the same level as his work in Prisoners and Nightcrawler and stuff like that, but he does a fine job in this. And it's just a fun sci-fi movie. I think it's one of the better time travel movies. They really handled that aspect, I thought, a lot cleaner and better than some other movies like Looper. It doesn't get confusing at all with the time travel aspect. And just a really strong sci-fi film, and I enjoyed it. It's really fun. Taken 2. I saw this one in the theater. I thought it was okay, but definitely a big step down from the first one. And then when I watched the Blu-ray, I thought it was really bad. Not as bad as the third one, which I actually reviewed, and I will not be picking that up ever. But yeah, a really disappointing movie. I mean, Taken 1 to me is great, and I don't know what happened. I'm pretty sure they got a different director for 2 and 3, but they're just really bad compared to the first one. The first one just feels like a great movie. I really think it's a great action movie, and 2 and 3 just feel like garbage to me, honestly. Maggie Grace, I think, is horrible in it. The story, what everyone says, is that it's just not as believable as the first movie, and I definitely feel that way too. They really ruined it with the shaky cam. Is the same case as in the third movie. Just doesn't. It's just not as good as the first one, and doesn't feel as. It just doesn't feel like you can respect it like the first one. So I don't like Taken 2. I don't really ever want to watch this again. Yeah. Rambo, the 4th movie in the series, the last one. I have all of the Rambo movies on Blu-ray, and I watched 1 through 3 about a year before I watched this one. I had seen this one before, getting the Blu-ray once, and watching this again, it's my least favorite of the Rambo movies. It's supposed to be the bloodiest and the goriest. I just didn't think the action was that good. You really don't get much. You don't get Rambo kicking ass until the very end, and I just didn't enjoy it. Even Rambo 3, I thought was better than this. I'm not really high on this movie. I don't like it much. Con Air, a great movie. I'd seen this on TV a couple of times. I don't think I ever sat down and watched the whole movie, but I watched enough to get a pretty good sense of what this was. To me, this is just one of the best 90s action movies. Not quite a comedy, not quite as definitely not as comedic as Face Off, but people talk about Heat as being one of the best 90s action movies. I would rather watch Con Air every time over Heat. This to me is just so much fun. It's cheesy, but the action is, just really great. Really high octane action, stuff blowing up all over the place. Again, Nicolas Cage, when he still had some worth as an actor. Malkovich plays a great villain. A really simple plot, and what can I say? I love this movie. Another one that I want to watch again really soon. This and Face Off and Eraser, all movies in this update, are some of my favorite action movies of all time. Broken Arrow you can also throw in that category, but this to me is just a really good quality action movie. Even though these movies are considered to be cheesy, I just love it, and I think it's great. Throne of Atlantis, the latest DCU movie. Again, the Target Steelbook. I think I have every DCU Target Steelbook, but the Steelbook is better than the movie, unfortunately, which is never a good thing. This came out back in February. I got it on the release day, and I was actually expecting a lot from this because the last movie, Assault on Arkham, which I already talked about, I loved that so much. When I wasn't expecting much out of it, I thought that was a great movie, and I thought DCU had really turned a corner with Assault on Arkham. But unfortunately, this was just another really subpar movie in every respect. I saw the trailer for this from Assault on Arkham, and I really liked the direction they were going with for the origin story with Aquaman. He's a regular dude. He's a fisherman, I think, from Maine, and he's a kind of a drunkard, but a bar brawler. But I liked his origin story here. But after he gets back to Atlantis and all that, he just didn't do much. He didn't have a lot of screen time. There was action in this movie, but none of it was really that substantive. It didn't feel that great or epic, and the plot just feels really shallow. They did the typical thing. A lot of these DCU movies, it's the heroes against the humans, or in this case it was the Atlanteans against the surface dwellers, and it's just like, I feel like that's very lazy, and they can make a better plot than that. The Justice League is in here, but they're just kind of in the background, doing their thing, and it doesn't feel very coordinated. It feels like these movies are becoming more and more, for kids rather than, like a more kind of adult thing, or a mature teen kind of movie. It's really evident to me that the DCU movies are just going to be hit or miss now. They're not going to be able to, make a great movie every time out. I don't have any hope for Batman vs. Robin, like I already discussed, but Throne of Atlantis was really kind of disappointing to me. I thought War was really bad, but after watching this, I think War might be the better movie, which is really not a good sign. So this was disappointing for me. Just a couple more movies here. Whoa. Okay, dropped all of my movies, but Collateral, picked this up a couple months ago, I think in January, and I had seen it when I was really young, about 10 years ago. I liked it back then, and I really like it now. Really underrated movie. This doesn't get talked about a lot, but to me, one of Tom Cruise's best performances, and I really like that they changed up his appearance. They gave him gray hair here. He was almost unrecognizable, really, as Tom Cruise, and everyone always says that Tom Cruise, they always see the actor rather than the character he's playing, and definitely wasn't the case here. I really like that. Jamie Foxx had a really fine performance here. He's a cab driver. He picks up Tom Cruise, and soon finds out that he's a hitman, and he forces Jamie Foxx's character to drive him around as he takes out all of his targets. Fun kind of Streets of LA type movie, nighttime movie, good action, an underrated action movie. I like it. Captain America: The Winter Soldier. This to me was a fantastic, a great movie. I really, really loved it. I've probably watched it about 3 or 4 times since getting the Blu-ray, and to me, by far, the best